Welcome to Futurartist Records Presents. Today my guest is a singer-songwriter who's been doing music pretty much his whole life. Please welcome Jonathan Duane. Jonathan, thanks for coming down today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of set you up here with you've been doing it your whole life. How did you get started in music?
Well, it started when I was a kid. My parents were both musical. My mother's side was probably a bit more musical than my father. Two of her brothers played piano and worked themselves through college playing piano, and I had one uncle who played horn, and he played with a lot of big bands. Artie Shaw was the one that
Nice.
I knew about.
Yeah.
So I got started with that, and then so piano was mandatory.
Right.
You just had to do piano, period. And then I had polio when I was 5. And my mother kind of was thinking, you know, what can we do to kind of help him through that, because she knew it'd be difficult in childhood of, you know, having a limp and all that goes along with that, and braces and crutches and all that. So she got me started in singing, and was just very, very fortunate in this small town of having a new vocal teacher, a music teacher who came to the little parochial school there. Sister Lily was her name. Within about a year and a half's time, she had really brought my voice along, and I had always, even when as a baby, I remember my brother saying to me, you know, I don't mind you humming, just hum a melody.
Right.
Just something that repeats. So I was doing that, you know, from when I was just a very, very, very young. And the voice developed very well, and it was kind of, now that I don't have it, I can say it.
Right.
It was a world-class, you know, boy soprano voice.
Okay.
And I gave concerts in through the Midwest, and the largest concert that I gave was about 600. The audience was about 600 people.
And what age were you when you did that?
I think it was about 12.
Okay.
My voice hadn't started to change.
Hadn't quite gone through that yet. Gotcha.
Hadn't changed yet. And then the voice changed, and I kind of got away from doing as much music, and I didn't have the vocal teacher there. And the voice, although it was good, it just wasn't trained.
Right.
And then got into college. I had changed my degree. I was in applied math, and I was just kind of, grades weren't all that great, and I said, well, I think I'll try doing, you know, some music. So I worked for about 6-7 years, started off as a stand-up jazz singer. With a trio in back of me, and then graduated to having a rock show group, and worked in the Denver area and up in the mountains, and pretty much locally within the Colorado area.
Right.
And then kind of had a peak experience that occurred, and it kind of channeled me in a different direction. And I went ahead and said, well, I want to do some music with projection support and multimedia.
Okay.
And so I went back to school, picked my degree up with a computer science option, and so that I could control machines. And from there I got a little bit more sidetracked and wasn't doing as much music, still doing music to help, you know, support the family and all that sort of thing, but wasn't doing it, you know, full time, and had to support the family, obviously. So I started working, doing computer graphics. And so I kind of got away from it. And then here about 10 years ago, the situation kind of has changed some. And so I went ahead and I got back into doing more of it.
Right.
And the main thing that I did during that time was I went back and trained my voice.
Right.
You know, it's so easy for people to say, oh, he just has a nice voice.
Right.
All I can tell you is you can sound good, but you don't have a voice that you can work with.
Right.
Because
it can wear out quickly.
Yeah. You've got to be able to sing for an hour or 2 hours every night and do that 5-6 nights a week.
Right.
Without losing your range and having, So I went back and retrained my voice, and it's taken me a long time to do that. And obviously I've been writing and doing a lot of stuff during that period of time. So that kind of brings me up to the present.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you next, how would you describe the arc of your career? You've kind of given us the layout. What do you consider yourself coming full circle now, or do you feel like you're still on a path to a certain point, or has that changed?
Well, kind of what happened when I started doing the music, it was more about just being in front of an audience and enjoying, doing material, mostly doing covers. I wasn't doing any real original stuff. Then when I had this peak experience, before that I'd written some stuff, but with the peak experience, it was like an idea, a thought, something that I just needed to express. I needed to get it out, and it was very, very difficult to explain it to people, to tell them, to say, okay, this is what happened to me. This is, how I think about things. So at that time, I started writing some more kind of an existential kinds of stuff. I was still writing love songs and stuff like that. Sure. And then obviously I kind of got away from it. And one of the things that I wanted to do at that time was a planetarium show. And I never did get the planetarium show done. And so coming back full circle, it was kind of like I said, what do I need to get back to doing a planetarium show? Right. And getting, expressing this idea of this peak experience that I had. Gotcha. How can I, what do I need to put together to do that? And so the first thing was, well, I got to get my voice more together. Right. Because it was always the thing, yes, I could do it, but it was always like you were kind of fighting it. And you have to get past fighting, just getting it out. You have to just put that all behind you and just be there to express it. Right. To say, this is what I'm about. This is the feeling that I have. I want you to experience that. Right. That actually brings me to the question, how would you describe what you do? And what do you think your strong points are? Boy, there's a lot of different parts and pieces to the puzzle, because I've written a book about this idea, but musically, my strong suit is I'm a singer, and I'm a songwriter. I think I have the ability to be able to say things kind of in a, hopefully in a unique or semi-unique fashion. Right. They say if you're going to write a hit song, it has to sound 90% like what's out there already, and 10% that's different. Right. That way people can attach to it, but it's unique to you. Right. So I think I have the ability to be able to do that, and I play piano and I play guitar, but I'm really not a player. Gotcha. I'm a singer, and I'm a songwriter. And the main thing is to communicate, to get people to feel what it is that I want to express, and then to share that with them. I mean, it's really all about sharing. One of the things that I've always remembered about music, which I really think is true, I don't know who said it, there's two parts to the music. Half the music is doing it, the other half is having an audience. Absolutely. Because it's all about sharing. If you don't share it, what's the point? Yeah. Well, and I think as an artist, that's partly what drives you to do it, is wanting to share that and wanting to express something and invite them to experience it with you. Right. Yes. And in the end, if, there's nothing more rewarding for me, especially like from long ago when I was, working like as a jazz singer and in a show group, whatever. But to finish a ballad and to just have the audience almost like just absorbed in it, and it takes them a moment to go, oh, and
Yeah, that silence between when they respond and when you stop.
right,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
because they're there, they're
Right.
totally there, and having that, it's almost like a mental communion, a mental telepathy that goes on. And if I were to have my most ultimate performance experience, it would be a mental communion of people, telepathy, sharing.
Right.
Where people would go, I don't know what that was, but that was really special.
Yeah.
know?
And for them to be able to get it. So now that brings me to another question that you've already kind of touched on. What does music mean to you, and how does that fit into the whole of
Well,
what you're working on?
Yeah, it's a tool. It's a tool. It's an extra level of expression. It's like I can sit here and talk to you for, probably 25 minutes about the feeling that I had
Right.
on a first date, right?
Right.
But if you put music to it, and you put the right song to it, in like 2 or 3 minutes, people will go, yeah, I get that.
Right, right.
You get
Yeah.
that feeling, you get the sense of the emotion that's behind it. And I've heard it said, and I believe it's true, that emotions are the highest form of human thought.
Right.
And how do you convey emotions? Well, musically, somebody comes in and hits a drum, bam, like that, all of a sudden it sends a sensation, a vibration into the room that's like, whoa, And if I could sit here, and it'd be very difficult for me to do it most any other way except by maybe shouting,
Right.
And then you take a violin, how would I do that? How would I get the sensation of, like, let's say just a violin just going, like that, other than singing?
Right. Right.
So everything has its kind of way of expressing something, and music has the ability to kind of transcend.
Right.
To go
Absolutely.
to take people someplace easily and quickly. It's not about taking a lot of time talking about something, especially if it's a sensation, an insight, or an emotion. It's about being. It can happen instantaneously.
Right.
And music gives you that opportunity to put that across to people so that they pick up on it. And obviously there's different ways that music can be used. I mean, music can be a good time, just, hey, we're all here dancing, we're having a great time, this is fun, da-da-da. Or it can be religious, you're in a church, or it can be didactic, whatever. It can be children's songs. It can be used in a lot of different ways, but it is that ability to be able to communicate something very quickly, very succinctly. And I think personally that great art is invented to communicate an idea, an emotion, a thought that is very, very difficult to communicate any other way.
Sure. Now, having said that, you've brought up a lot of things that make me want to ask, having said, happy, sad, communication, bringing people into your realm, so to speak, with what you're trying to say. What is it that motivates you to do music?
Well, at this point in time, what really motivates me is I feel about the world in a certain kind of way, and I would like to get it out to just somebody.
Right. Sure.
It
doesn't
have to be a million people.
Yeah.
It just needs to get out there in a certain way, and so it means to me being able to actualize myself.
Okay.
Of people being able to go, I don't know exactly what you do, but I enjoy it.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is kind of an aside, a little bit of an aside, and another way of thinking about kind of, what I'm wanting to do. You can get a CD of anybody in the world, the greatest artist, You can get a DVD. Greatest artists are the most ranked beginner. You can get TV. All of that media you can just plop down $10 and you've got it. However, you can't get intimate personal relationships or the experience of an individual except in person.
Right.
And I'm sure that you've probably been there. You've been around the music scene a lot yourself. But you can walk into a club and you haven't heard anything, you don't know anything that's been going on in the evening. But
Right.
you say, there's something really special going on. This is magic.
Yes.
This
yes.
is, and you don't know what it is exactly. You can't say, well, it's because of this, because of that.
Right.
It's just something that's happening because it's there.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you at this point, having said all of that, and having talked about motivation and trying to get your message out, I would love to have you do a song. And we've talked about this before. This isn't a surprise to you, but I think this is a great time to allow you to play one of your songs. And the song's name is Spinning. Do you want to give a really brief tease for the audience before we hear it?
This isn't about any of the existential stuff or anything about, this is really special.
Right.
This is just a love song.
Okay, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan Duane performing Spinning.
Well, it had been snowing all day, and later that night I had a first date with a lady I had known for a while. Well, I gave her a call before I started out early, and I told her, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it or not. But I got there about 10 minutes late, and I got out of the car, and I walked across the snow as it crumpled and crunched under my feet. I walked up the stairs, and I rang the doorbell. She was. We were out and on the town. The snow was still sifting down. Bundled up your arm in mine. I can't remember a better time. We slipped into a sushi bar. We drank sake from a little jar. We took our time and talked about all the things that we cared about, but our time ran out and we paid the bill. We went outside and I remember still you standing there with your impish smile. We walked along for a little while, then we started laughing and giggling and pushing and pulling, and all of a sudden we were spinning. Christmas lights up in the trees were whirling round you and me, and we were spinning, 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 spinning in the snow. Well, I walked you back to your brand new loft. I came inside and I dropped you off. I didn't kiss you once, I didn't kiss you twice, but oh, it sure felt nice. And I got in my car and I turned around and I drove myself right out of town, down the interstate and the bright headlights, moving myself right through the night. And all the while I was a-thinking and a-hoping, but most of all I was spinning, spinning. Still seeing your smiling face whirling round me in time and space, and I was spinning, 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 spinning in the snow. Well, I got home, laid down, tried to sleep, thought about my soul to keep, but the room just kept a-turning around. I'm pretty sure I didn't touch the ground, but after a while I closed my eyes and I fell asleep and the night flew by, and I woke up in the morning with a little touch of vertigo. Hey, I was learning that life is good to go, and I was spinning, the night before. Maybe there's an open door spinning, 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 spinning in the snow. Oh, spinning, 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 spinning in my soul. You got me spinning, girl. I'm still spinning.
All right, Jonathan, what did you think? I liked it. It's a good song. What did you think?
Well, I don't know if it's up to me to say if I liked it or not. Yeah, I like it,
Okay.
but it's up to the audience if they like it.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. I liked it, so that's good. So using this song as an example, tell us a little story about what the song is, the process you use, how it came about, that
Right.
sort of thing.
Well, it's a love song. I mean, it's about a feeling, it's an emotion, and it did come from a kind of a first date that I'd had with someone that I knew, and I was actually coming back from the date, driving down the road, and I'm going like, wow, that was really an experience. And the thing that came to me as I was saying, that's a great idea for a song. You know,
Right.
this evening is a great, and the spinning thing was just like, it was exhilarating. And so the first thing that came was spinning, spinning. So that was just kind of going through my head. And then by the time I got home, it was kind of like I went spinning, spinning, spinning in the snow. And so that was kind of the core of it.
Yeah.
And then said, well, that's the hook. And now I'm going, well, I've got to have something before it, and I need to have something after it, and I need to tell the total story of what was going on. And so from there, it was like just telling the story. And the thing that's really important, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are maybe watching this who are songwriters or, you know, nascent beginning songwriters.
Right, yeah. I hope so.
Yeah. The very first, one of the rules, don't ever waste a word. Don't ever waste a bar, you know, of music. Everything has to contribute to the overall statement. If it doesn't move the story forward, you don't need it.
Right.
Get rid of it. Get it out of here.
Yeah, it's easy to lose people.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing of it is you have to, and the other thing is this is really like a picture song. It's kind of like it's painting a picture. And people are built to understand, receive, and enjoy stories.
Absolutely.
It's a story. And if you can paint a picture where people can see it, you know, all the Christmas lights up in the tree were whirling around you and me. Well, it's like, yeah, I can see that.
Right,
you know. And so everything in there is meant to paint a picture and to convey something. And then the other thing about songs, which I think is really important, now it's not true of every song because there's a gazillion different songs, and every song is written for a different reason.
Right.
And is trying to say something a little different. Sometimes it's maybe just a dance tune, so all that you need is maybe just a hook.
Right.
You know, that's about all you really need. But if you're writing songs like a singer-songwriter, where it's not the arrangement, it's not the background, it's not the, it's just what it is. You have to have a beginning, you have to have a middle, and you have to have an end. And in this particular song, it's chronologically moving along.
Right.
You know, it's first, you know, I just show up at the door, and then there's the spinning, and then, you know, after the spinning and what happened, and then going home and what happened the following morning.
Yeah.
So all of those things play little pieces and parts to the puzzle of writing a good song. but it's not always chronological in nature.
Sure, sure.
You write it in lots of different ways, lots of different things are being done. But the main thing is to get people so that they can feel it. If people can feel what the idea is, and it happens in a hurry, it happens quickly, that's really what you're trying to do. And then as far as like with the changes, the actual melodic and structure of the song, it helps to have a little music theory so that you can say, okay, well, I know that if I'm here, I can get to there, kind of this way. But it's not doing it mechanically. It's a matter of saying, how do I get the feeling? And then many times you search around for it, and you look around and go, oh, here, yep, that's it.
Yeah, because you can create the emotion and the story with the music as well as with the lyric, and if they're tied together, then you've really got something that people can connect to. Now, having said that, is that your goal for your audience, is to be able to make that connection, or what are you wanting the audience to get out of your music?
Well, I mean,
I'm sure there's a lot of answers to that.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of answers to it. And just going back for just one moment, I try as much as possible to write both the music and the words kind of simultaneously together. Because otherwise you get the words, one or the other will come kind of first. But it's a very starting point. It's like breadcrumbs. You get the first breadcrumb and you go, oh, I know there's got to be another one around here someplace, and you start picking them all up. But as far as like what I want to have for the people is, number one, to uplift them as much as I can. To give them many times a little different way of thinking about something, maybe, or connecting with something that maybe they already feel and haven't really expressed, but it's like, oh yeah, that's, and nothing gives me a greater satisfaction, or I don't think I've ever done my job as well as when someone says to me, well, I never thought of it that way. When that happens, I think, okay,
you've done your job.
Mark one down for me. That's good. And so if people can get a better handle on themselves, if it conveys some meaning to them, the last thing I want to do, the very last thing I want to do, is to manipulate anybody. Because it goes back to love. The context of love around everything that you do means that you're not manipulating people. You're free. It's that old thing of like, if set the bird free, if it comes back, that's a good thing. And it's not about having things, it's about giving things. You can have two different ways of looking at the world. One way of looking at the world is, I'm going to get as much as I can get. Everywhere I get, I'm going to get. Well, that's one way of organizing the world. The other one is, I'm going to give as much as I can give. Obviously, I can't give everything, or I wouldn't have anything left to give. So there has to be some reciprocal response that you pick up on. But if you can have that, if you can basically go at it as just giving people something, that it's not about me giving them something that's going to change them. It gives them the tools or the opportunities to be able to change themselves. And for them to come closer to themselves. And I know there's a lot of people, I remember when I first started singing, there's people who, and this was kind of during the 60s, they were saying, well, why do you have message songs? You know, why do they have message songs? You know, people just want to come out and be entertained, you know, period, entertained. Yeah, that's true, but I think you have to bring people to life.
Sure,
you know,
sure.
It's kind of like giving them life isn't always happy.
Right.
It shouldn't always be sad.
Sure.
But you just need to bring people to life. You know, if we all can be more alive, if we can all have a greater sense of being here, we can move to the next level.
Right.
And we can all get there together, and that's really, as near as I can tell, that's kind of what life is all about. Life is about relating. Right. It's about being with other people. And if you're not doing that, I don't get it. Right. It's just not worth it. It's not worth the time.
Well, you know, you're hinting at some things here that you and I talked about before the show, and I don't want to give any secrets away because I think you and I have got some pretty cool ideas where we'd like to go next with some of this stuff. But if you could, without giving the story away, what are your plans for the future?
Well, the very first things right now is I feel myself to be pretty much together. From the standpoint of I've got my chops pretty much there. I've done this before. I know how to do it. Right. But one of the things that you have to do, you can't do it without doing it. You have to get in front of people. You have to gig. Yeah. Where it's not like life and death. You know, you're doing a show and it's like, oh my gosh, I just blew the lyrics on that. They're all going to walk away thinking that I'm a moron. You just, you know, so you have to gig. So I figure about 2 to 3 months here of gigging, you know, working at least, you know, 2 or 3 nights a week. And then after that, progressing on to doing shows. Right. You know, doing like 1-hour shows and finding the proper venues for that. Working up in size from being very intimate, very small, to a little bit larger venues. And working on the actual the show itself, so that I'm saying what I want to say. Right. And then all the while doing that of getting into the studio and getting the material that I want to do for the first album, getting all of that together. And then obviously after that, it's a matter of releasing the album. And seeing what kind of develops from that. Right. Because I'll be at that point, I'll be at a point, and also at this point I'll be adding musicians to what I'm doing. There is no substitute for working with good musicians. I have the deepest respect for anybody who plays. It is something that adds. It's like a community of artists will create something that no one of the artists will be able to do. Yes, absolutely. I have my ideas, I have my thoughts, I want to be able to get them out there, but I also want to facilitate other musicians coming along as well. Then once I've kind of gotten to that point, the thing that I really want to move back to, which was all kind of started a lot of what I have done or tried to do, is a planetarium show. Right, right. And that's really what I want to do. And the planetarium show, in 45 minutes to an hour, I want to take people to a new reality. Cool, cool. I'm going to stop you there because I want people to not get the idea that they know what you're doing, because you've got some cool ideas, and I think it's going to be nice to let people see that come out and oh wow, that's what he was working on. But having said that, you've got some other songs. We talked before the show, and you've got plenty of songs for several releases. And I know you're trying to get that down to one album that is what you're looking for. And so, if you're up for it, talking about giving instead of taking, you've got a song called "Give It All You Got." And if you're up for it, I'd like to have you perform that for us too. Absolutely. Awesome. Excellent. Folks, stick around. We're going to have another song here for you, "Give It All You Got" by Jonathan Duane. So stick around. He's going to be playing that as the credits roll. And make sure you like and share and subscribe and support this local talent. So, Jonathan Duane, thank you for coming down today. This was fun. Michael,
This is
thanks
fun.
for having me.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to these other things we're working on. It's going to be great. So, I'm Michael Hartsock. Thanks for watching Futurartist Records Presents.
Give it all you got. No chance at a second try. Give it all you got. Yes or no, right or wrong, do it or die. Give it all you got. You only got one life to live. Live it before you die. What should I believe? I asked the holy man. He told me, son, I really don't have no magic plan. In fact, I've only got one piece of advice to help you through your life. You got to give it all you got. No chance at a second try, give it all you got. Yes, no right or wrong, still ask why. Give it all you got. You only got one life to live. Live it before you die. Well, walking down the city streets, a tired, rummy crony speaks. He asks me for a cigarette, saying he's a laureate. He tells me of his life he's lived with regret. He says, now don't you forget. No, 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 give it all you got. No chance at a second try, give it all you got. Yes, no right or wrong, do it or die, give it all you got. You only got one life to live, live it before you die. Well, I bumped into the holy priest. I asked him if he'd intercede to the Lord that's up above and help me with my every need. He said, get off your knees, stand up like a man. Don't you understand? You got to give it all you got. No chance at a second try, give it all you got. Yes, no right or wrong, still ask why. Give it all you got. You only got one life to live.